spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of the Scaryish podcast.
Woo!
That was loud. I'm Robin Grace. This is Adam Diaz.
Hello.
And today we're on a post-convention weekend episode.
I was like, we're on a post? What post are we sitting on?
Post-convention episode. We just got back from Portland, Seattle area, literally 2 hours ago. No, 1 hour ago, because we got home at 1.
We landed an hour ago in the beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. And so
we're recording this episode, and we're hoping to get it out to you folks by early morning so you folks can listen to it.
Oddly enough, even though we're recording this at 2:06 a.m., we're actually recording this
earlier,
a little bit earlier than we normally record our episodes.
We wrote our things we wanted to talk about on the plane, so it's great. We're here. We're going to be giving you guys some info and a little insight into the type of people we are and the stuff that we're into.
You're explaining the topic without even saying what the topic is.
Okay.
So here's the deal. So we talked about different things that we could cover for this particular episode, given the fact that we had a really short lead-in to do research. Unless we recorded an episode on Wednesday after story time, which just wasn't going to fucking happen. Between homework with Robin and work with me, we just were not going to be able to do that. However, on the trip, we talked about different topics we could cover, and we were talking about scary movies because it's just something that we do pretty frequently. And we are with the JJ Obsession because they are our con-going family. And so when we were there, we were just kind of all going over movies that we've seen and stuff like that. And on the way home, it kind of became clear to us we should just talk about our personal top 5 horror movies. Because we have a lot to say on them. We have very strong opinions when it comes to them. So yeah, that's what we're going to be covering this episode. I am pretty excited to get into it. So it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So we don't really have a whole lot to cover as far as con stuff goes. However, to say KomoraCon 2021 is probably the best con I've ever been to.
It is the best one that I've been to, and that's saying a lot considering we've been to so many so far this year.
Just in general, we've been to so many.
KomoraCon, everyone in Portland in general was so nice.
I was led to believe that Portland was going to be this shithole that's infested with nothing but homeless people, and the city had been burned to the ground by protests, to find that it was absolutely not that. I didn't see any evidence of protest that happened last year, and then on top of that, despite the fact that there were homeless people, and I was told there's going to be tent cities, I have seen significantly bigger tent cities in LA.
Well, in Sacramento, we saw bigger
and in
tent
Sacramento.
cities.
So it's like, it's not something that was different to me. And I've, growing up inside Chicagoland area and, going downtown proper quite a bit, I've been around a lot of homeless folks. So it was a very different vibe than I was expecting, considering I had like a bunch of people warning me before I went, like, oh man, you're going to Portland. Portland's not safe. I was like, holy fuck, Portland's like one of the nicest cities I've ever visited. Period.
Everyone was so incredibly nice. The convention was great. Everyone at the convention was so nice. I had a great weekend. The girls at the JJ Obsession are absolutely amazing. We had so much fun.
It was probably like one of the funnest weekends we've had.
Yes, in recent history.
In a long time. Yeah.
I mean, mwah,
the only thing I will
kiss.
say, if we're going to be honest here about all this stuff, is that Portland, you need to get your shit together with your streets. Because I grew up around one-way streets. There's a lot of one-way streets in Chicago where it's like you got to go up an extra block and take a left. I've never run into one-way streets where it's going the direction you need to turn, and it just says you're not allowed to be on it. And just like keep going further and further and further away. I was like, what the fuck is happening downtown? Figure your shit out. But aside from that, really good time this con. It was really, really fun. So
yeah,
good stuff. But yeah, okay. So this isn't probably going to be as long as our typical episodes, but who knows? We could argue quite a bit. But we're going to be giving our top 5 favorite horror movies. So here's the thing. It's our top 5 favorite. So that doesn't mean it's going to match anyone else's top 5 unless we have identical taste. This doesn't match my top 5 from last year or 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Right. It is constantly changing. New movies are always coming out. But this is going to be our personal top 5s at this moment, November 2021. This is our top 5s.
We would love to hear from you as to what your top 5s are.
Yeah.
So hit us up on any of our social medias. Give us a quick rundown of your top 5. If you want to send us an email and say, here's my top 5, here's why, that would be cool.
Yeah,
what I will say is, be respectful, because these are our opinions. We're not coming on the show saying, these are the 5 best horror movies ever made.
Absolutely
That
not.
is a statement of fact that cannot actually be determined This is us saying this is our opinion. These are our favorite things.
Because
there is a difference between those things. And I wish more folks nowadays, instead
that.
of saying like, oh man, I had the best burger today. You know, it's like, oh man, I had a great burger today. It might be my favorite burger I've ever had. Because those are two different things. Because if someone else has a favorite and you tell them you had the best burger, that means they are wrong for having a favorite that doesn't match with you. And no one talks like that anymore. No one says favorites. Everyone always winds up saying shit like, oh, this is the best. That's the best. It's like the same thing happens with, this is the most haunted house in America.
Right.
Every fucking haunted house says that. So it's like, we're taking that. We're saying, don't think that way. Don't think objectively. This is subjective. This is our taste 100%. And it kind of reflects on the people that we are and the fears that we have, you know?
Yes.
So I'm really excited to cover it. So I've talked enough, Robin. Tell us about your list a little bit and then jump into your number 5. We're going to do the countdown 5 to 1.
All right. So you'll notice a theme with my favorites, and that is that they mostly involve the supernatural in some capacity, ghosts, exorcisms, hauntings, that kind of stuff, and it definitely is my jam when it comes to movies. If a movie out there has these things in it, I've probably already watched it, or I probably have it on my list where I'm like, I need to watch that in the near future. I usually watch it if it involves those things. And that's not to say that I hate any other type of movie. I am just a sucker for demons in films. Demons, ghosts, creepy things like that. So, you know, that's what you're going to notice in my top 5.
Demons kind of fuel my top 5 a little bit. I tried to be more big picture, though, because I did have this thing where I realized as I was going through my list, like, demons are something that freak me out. Like, that's why I cover so many possessions. That's why I really dig into stuff like that. Because it is something that I've thought about a lot throughout my life. So when I see it on film represented in a way that feels real, it freaks me the fuck out.
Right.
It's also why when I did the topic for The Exorcist, I did the behind the scenes of the movie and then the real life story. So, that one freaked me out more than any other topic I've covered.
The thing with The Exorcist is that people in real life were affected by this movie, and that is what is so scary about it. Do you have any slasher films on your top 5?
I
like just
don't
murder, blood, gore.
I don't think I have any slashers on my top 5.
I definitely don't. None of my movies are slasher films. Not to say that I don't love them.
I really enjoyed when we used to do the slasher films on Saturdays and we were watching all the Friday the 13th. That was fun.
I totally enjoy Friday the 13th. I enjoy Halloween movies. I enjoy those types of movies, but my top 5 are not those movies. Maybe because I want more to it than just there's a murderer going around that's killing people. But
I do like psychological horror too, and I think slasher
like the
films
Invisible Man type
are
stuff.
A lot more physical intimidation in nature. Like something's coming after you and you're running from it.
Okay.
Versus like you don't even know if you're right. You know, that sort of isolation feeling is definitely very heavily themed in my list. So, all right. We talked about this on the plane too. I was like, hey, do your top 5, but add on an honorable mention. What almost made your list? So do your honorable mention before you hit 5. That way we say, this one almost made the top 5, but you didn't quite cut it.
All right. So my honorable mention is not necessarily, horror. But my honorable mention is Sleepy Hollow, the one that was released in 1999. It's honorable mention because it is not actually a horror film. But it is.
It's like horror action mystery.
Right.
I think IMDb stated.
Yeah. So it's a good Tim Burton movie, but IMDb does have it listed as fantasy horror mystery. And so I was like, okay, there's a lot of horrifying things in it, where it's kind of cheating, right? Because the Headless Horseman is in it, and that is genuinely scary. The people get beheaded in it, so there is murder.
Christopher Walken is in it. He's scary.
Yep, there's blood. It's a good time. There's charming Johnny Depp, super charming Christina Ricci, who is our main girl, and she's charming. Obviously Johnny Depp is Ichabod Crane. Christopher Walken plays, the Headless Horseman when he has his head on.
It's Christopher Ryden then. It's a good joke. That's a solid joke.
Stupid joke. But it's a really good movie. I really enjoy it. And it's a movie that I have seen 1,000,001 times. I probably watch it way too often. And fun fact, the blood in the film while they filmed it did not look like blood whatsoever. It was actually hilariously off color. Like, I think it was bright orange or something like that.
Isn't it because he had such a ridiculous tint?
Yes. So if you watch the movie, everything is pretty muted in color. And in order to do that, they had to change the color of everything. Because if you have a regular red colored blood, it would look off, you know.
Because everything's muted.
Right. So I freaking love this movie. That is my honorable mention because it's probably one of the movies that I have watched over and over and over and over again. And I will still watch over and over and over again.
I think it is one of the, if not the first moment where I watched a movie where I thought, I think I might be in love with that actress. Because
Christina Ricci?
I grew up watching Addams Family. And I got made fun of because my name is Adam. Like, oh my God, do you like Addams Family? It's like, well, yeah, I do. The movies are awesome. And then I remember thinking of her as Wednesday Addams, you know? She was like my age. I think she's very close to my age, in fact.
She's really young in that movie.
But like, when I saw her in that movie and I realized she's my age and I saw her as like playing like a young woman, you know? I was like, holy shit. Wednesday Addams is super fucking hot.
No way.
That's exactly what I thought.
Shut the front door.
And I was like, I have to get famous to meet her one day. We need to fall in love.
We'll never be as famous as Christina
so
Ricci.
hot. And then I got older, and every time I watch that movie, I'm like, God damn, I wonder what Christina Ricci is doing right now.
The first time I ever watched her was in Casper.
Grey's Anatomy, when she was holding that bomb.
Oh my God, no. It was in
masterful performance
in Casper, where she is the main character.
That's the other movie too, where like you just sort of fall in love with her when you're a little kid. You're that age. If she's your thing, like that's your chick. Like that's your go-to.
But her dad was the one that I was all up on.
Wow,
like,
really? Back then, you were all about the dad?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Jeez Louise.
I know, right? There's something wrong with me, but I mean, not necessarily.
You're into what you're into.
I'm into what I'm into. No kink shaming. But that's, I was totally all up in that.
All right. We have a lot of movies to go through. We don't need to be given too many shout outs. I have to do my honorable mention now.
Okay, yeah, what is yours?
I didn't type up a paragraph of my honorable mention, but my honorable mention, because it does not make my top 5, goes to the original miniseries of It.
Good choice.
Stephen King's It, because it is very long, first and foremost.
I don't think that counts as a movie.
It is. It's like 4 movies. It's 8 hours, and I don't give a shit what you say because it's on VHSs. It's very long, but most importantly, it made me scared of clowns for a very long time. I'm still uneasy around clowns, and the scene in which they look out the window, the creepy kid looks out the window when he's a grown-up and sees its face on the moon.
Yeah,
it creeped me out. My friends couldn't look at a full moon for fucking years. So it didn't just impact me, it impacted my whole friend group. And we're all just totally terrified. And then I used to do this thing when I was younger where I look up what the actor was, who the actor was.
Tim Curry. Who
played someone. And I realized it was Tim Curry. And I knew Tim Curry from Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, because he's the concierge.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, there's no fucking way that guy is It the Clown. And then I saw on Comedy Central, they ran Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Right, to me, that is Tim Curry.
And I was like, that's fucking Tim Curry too. And I gained more of an appreciation of him as an actor for the range. Because I was like, God damn, he is really good in everything he does. And you can always tell who he is by his voice.
Yes.
Regardless of what he does, you're like, that is Tim Curry's voice. So now when I watch it, and I hear its voice, I'm like, God damn, Tim Curry.
He was in
You're so good.
Much stuff.
The other thing that I knew him from was Clue. If you've never seen the movie Clue, movie Clue is awesome. Also, when it was originally released, it was a long time ago, they sent different endings to different parts of the country. So other people that talked about the movie Clue were like, oh, so-and-so did it. Like Professor Plum did it, or so-and-so did it. And everyone had a different ending. And then when they released it on VHS, they had like multiple endings and then the true ending on the VHS. So, little knowledge nug for you there. But yeah, I put It on there because it was super impactful, and on top of that, it really made me love Tim Curry.
I can see why that is your honorable mention.
It was fucking creepy, dude. Let's be real. A killer clown that turns out to be some sort of like ridiculous alien devil demon creature, those razor sharp teeth. That scene in the fucking shower when his like hand comes through the drain and then his other hand comes through and then he just fucking widens it. Oh my God, I have goosebumps thinking about it.
He's not even lying.
It terrified me as a child. I am terrified thinking about it right now. But That is my honorable mention. All right, Robin, kick us off with your official number 5. What's the first thing that made your list?
My number 5 is The Grudge. So, the number 5 on my list is The Grudge because it is the one that got me wrecked when I first started watching horror movies when I was younger.
Got you wrecked.
Yeah, got me wrecked.
What do you mean by that? Because hearing got me wrecked has a lot of different connotations.
So it's not at all my favorite movie, which is why it's number 5. But, I mean, okay, I don't crave this movie at all when I think of like, I want to watch a horror movie right now. I'm not like, let's watch The Grudge. That's really what I want to watch right now. But if it does pop up like on TV or something like that, I'm like, okay, we'll watch it. But there are 4 of them, and one was actually released in 2020. I have watched every single one of the Grudge movies. The one in 2020 actually had John Cho in it, who plays Spike Spiegel now in the Cowboy Bebop that's going to be...
Well, not yet. It comes out November 19th.
Yeah, November 19th.
I mean, obviously he's done filming. But
I've watched all these Grudge movies. My aunt and I have also... You've watched it too. The Grudge, the Ju-On TV show.
Right.
On Netflix.
Weird ending.
Which... Netflix, please give us more of this grudgy goodness. But this movie plays on the idea that a place is cursed after having something horrifically tragic and traumatizing happen in it. And it honestly just really messed me up because a lot of it was really scary. It introduced me to one of the scariest sounds in horror cinema. Which, if you have never seen it before and have no idea what I'm talking about, it's like the sound. You know,
I had a boss who used to do these vocal pauses because she was trying to think of ways to say things that wouldn't hurt people's feelings. And I told her, like, I'd much rather have you insult me than to constantly do the fucking grudge noise while you're figuring out your words. Because she'd be like, well, I think the project is
yeah, that sound for the longest time, even now, if I hear that sound, it scares me. And not only that sound, like the cats in that show or in that movie scare me. The fact that blankets are not sacred in that movie scare me. It's just really terrifying. And you guys will know what I mean when you see these scenes where these sounds happen or these things happen. The blanket thing, fuck, dude.
I don't think I've actually ever seen The Grudge.
What?
Yeah, I've definitely seen the show, but I don't think I've ever actually seen The Grudge.
It's probably one of those movies that most horror film lovers have already seen at least once. If Sarah Michelle Gellar, you know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, being in a horror movie does not pull you in, I don't know if we can really be friends, but it's a good movie. I really love her in it. I think you would really like it. I'm surprised you haven't seen it.
I don't know if I would like it.
Oh my god.
I have a very specific taste in horror movies.
I really think it's a good, scary movie. It is not by any means an award-winning movie, but if you want to be scared and you want things to haunt your nightmares, it does fit those categories.
Right on. All right, so that's Robin's number 5. I'm going to move over to me. Hi, Adam. How you doing?
Hello.
I'm good, Adam.
Hi.
All right, I don't know why you answered for me, but okay. So my number 5 is Paranormal Activity.
All right.
Some of you might groan because there's so many and some of them really suck. But this is the movie that revived the found footage trend, but did it with stationary cameras because found footage became really popular after the Blair Witch Project. Yeah. Everyone wanted to do a fucking found footage movie after that. Took some years before it came back because it died pretty quick. Paranormal Activity shows up. I appreciate the fact that this is a movie that is very simplistic in nature. They don't make it too complicated. They don't have a bunch of cameras everywhere. They don't decide randomly to have first-person shots. It is just these stationary cameras, and they use a lot of practical effects to highlight the scares as they continue to escalate. And it's not just the way horror movies freak me out. I really do appreciate the storytelling in horror movies, because if it's not good, I don't identify with a character. If I don't feel like the character has a chance, if there's no way they're going to survive, or there's no way that they can try and figure out a way to resist, I lose my stakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that Bagul movie. Like, I forget the name of it. I think it's Sinister. But, like, it's very clear from the beginning, like, this is the pattern that happens, and the people always wind up dead.
Yes.
And it's like they never really try and do anything to escape the pattern.
They can't escape
They
it.
wind up fitting into the pattern, regardless of the fact that they know what will happen if they do. And it really bugged me. It's like, okay, so you didn't really try and fight this. You just decided to go along with it and hope you didn't die.
Right.
That doesn't really happen in Paranormal Activity, at least in the first one. I really like the idea that they keep it simple where the boyfriend, and this is very realistic, this boyfriend finds out that his girlfriend was at some point haunted. He doesn't believe in ghosts. He's very enthusiastic and eventually becomes antagonistic in his behavior towards this entity, which is the perfect way to, 1, stoke the behavior, and 2, drive a wedge between him and his girlfriend, who wishes he would leave it be. That wedge stokes additional behavior because, in turn, that entity gets to feed off the tension and negative energy and gets increasingly stronger, gaining more and more of a foot into our world. And the way they show this thing slowly taking its toll on Katie by showing her sleepwalking and standing in one place for hours staring at him really freaked me the fuck out because that's exactly what I used to do when I used to sleepwalk.
I'm glad you
and
did
I
not do
get
that.
yelled at it about it all the time. It's a very good story. It's a really good example of a few things when it comes to making a movie. One is how the story properly escalates.
Yeah.
Like as this thing gains power, the way it interacts and scares people escalates more and more and more, which is awesome. It's also a very good example of if you have a good idea, you can keep things relatively inexpensive. And this is one of the biggest success stories that Hollywood's ever seen. I think they spent like $23,000 on it.
Barely any money on it.
They made over $100 million. That's like the largest rate of return on a Hollywood film like ever. And it legitimately is scary. And the thing that's funny to me about it is like, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but there is a scene where someone's face distorts and looks demon-like. That is my least favorite part. The only part where they put actual special effects and like they could have done without that. I didn't even need to see that.
I don't like any of the other movies that follow this movie.
I like 2. I think 2's still pretty good. And 2 has the scene where the fucking cabinets all explode open. There's a moment in the first one and there's a moment in the second one where it goes beyond just kind of a haunting or something creepy to this thing's strong now.
Yes.
Like you should be fucking scared. And I won't give away the first one, but in the second one, when those cabinets explode open, I was in the theater and I just fucking grabbed my seat and I was like, oh shit.
Which one? Is it 3 that has the panning camera?
I think so. 3's the prequel one. I think. Where it's
That
like set
one,
in the 70s, where the camera's like rotating, like oscillating like a fan would be.
That one does scare me.
Because it goes away and it comes back and things
there's
have
a
changed.
fucking ghost standing there.
Yeah, and I think they just do it really well when they decide to go practical with their effects. And I think that basically holds true through all of the movies that I have on here.
Yes, same for me. It's like if it has practical effects, I like it much better than if you spend a lot of money on CGI or have to go out of your way to make something scary. You know what I mean? So I'm totally with you on that. Practical over...
And it's another example, the first example on my list of demons freak me the fuck out. Plain and simple. So, okay, that was my number 5. Let's move over to you for your number 4.
All right, my number 4 is The Ring. So this one is...
I was wondering if you'd put The Ring on here.
So this one's an oldie but a goodie. I'm sure so many people out there have heard of
Perfect
The
example.
Ring.
There's stakes in this because they're looking for a way to stop it from happening.
The Ring is the American adaptation of the
Ringu.
Japanese Ringu. And this movie definitely has its draws. It's one of those iconic horror movies that those of my generation, which I turned 32 this past Halloween. So... everybody that's near my age, you guys probably know what I'm talking about, but we grew up watching it, right? And when this movie came out, there were so many spoofs of it, like whether that be Scary Movie 3 or like even the MTV Awards during that time did spoofs on
the imagery of the girl with the long hair in front of her crawling out of the TV.
Right. You just know this movie when you hear about it. People that hear of The Ring, they're like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And if you're one of those that don't have any idea what I'm talking about, which maybe you're younger or whatnot, but The Ring is a movie that begins with 2 teenage girls hanging out, talking about a tape that supposedly kills you within 7 days. And spoilers, someone dies within the first 10 minutes. And then it leads you into the rest of the film revolving around a woman and her son. And the mom is just on this mission to make sure this tape does not kill them. It's the origin of the iconic 7 days line. I'm sure you folks have heard of that.
Maybe not, man. I didn't even remember that was a thing until you just mentioned it, because it's been
7
so
days?
long since I thought about the ring.
I always whisper that to you.
I know, and I'm always like, what the fuck is she talking about?
My God.
What's in a week?
This movie is just iconic. It's a classic movie. I feel like this movie is what made girls with long, like sopping black wet hair in front of their faces. It's what made that horrifying to mainstream America. You know what I mean? It's a little outdated now because of social media and the fact that no one has a VCR anymore. But it's still a fun one to watch despite that. And I mean, with today's cell phones and internet and stuff like that, this would not work.
Yeah.
But, I think rating this movie, classic. Okay. That's its rating.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I should also state that we're going to go ahead and toss something in here. We're going to force each other to pick between 2 movie franchises.
All right.
So we'll do that eventually. But I just thought of something that I would like to toss out there for you.
Okay.
Since we both talked about the fact that we don't have slashers on our lists, what's your favorite slasher film in that specific genre? Because I know what mine is, and I can go first.
Okay, you go first.
The original Scream. I think the original Scream is the best slasher film ever made.
Well, it's funny because my question...
It's my favorite... Okay, it's not the best. I take that back. I just lectured everyone about not saying the best. It is my favorite because it is meta. It is exactly what I expect from a slasher film, and it has a twist ending, which I do appreciate.
I like the first Friday the 13th because...
Again, twist ending. Pretty solid. Don't see it coming.
And the scene with Kevin Bacon where he just gets speared through the bed. Like, oh my God, dude.
Solid practical effects. It looks like people are actually dying.
It's so good.
Yeah, I really like the Friday the 13th 1 and part 2. I think those are both really good. Although Jason's height definitely changes significantly as the storyline progresses.
Friday the 13th, everyone looks different.
I'm pretty sure in the next Friday the 13th movie, he's battling King Kong. So that'll be really interesting to see. All right, so moving into my number 4, I decided to jump into a franchise and pick out my favorite because it's a franchise I do like. So my number 4 favorite horror movie is Annabelle Creation.
That's my number 3.
I was wondering if it was going to wind up on your list. So this will be fun because we can transition when I'm done talking into why you like it as your number 3. But there are a lot of movies in the Conjuring franchise, and some of them are definitely stinkers.
Yep.
But
100.
the universe also has some really, really good movies. And as far as sequels go, they typically see films start to get worse and worse. That is arguably what happened with the Conjuring franchise, because Conjuring 1 is very good. Conjuring 2 is okay. And Annabelle, I did not like. I thought Annabelle kind of stunk. When Annabelle came out, I thought, okay, they're about at the end. Then when Annabelle Creation got announced, and I heard, oh, this is a prequel to everything, I sincerely thought, this is the end of the Conjuring universe. This is the last one we're going to get to see. We got early screening tickets randomly. I don't remember how the F we got them. And we went to see it. And I can genuinely say it's probably the most freaked out I've been in a theater watching a horror movie in a really long time. There's like one cheesy part where someone's like, your soul. And like everyone laughed in the theater.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Again, unnecessary special effects.
It was
Leave them out.
Everything else seemed
Stop
really
fucking
practical.
doing it. So dumb. That is not necessary. You want to CGI something in? Have it just be a shadow that's too hard to do a practical effect for and be completely stationary.
That's the thing that I think Haunting at Hill House does really well.
They just have ghosts
They just
everywhere.
have people dressed as ghosts stand in weird places.
Yes.
And it works so well.
Right, you don't get to hijack my number 4.
Okay.
So, this movie winds up being genuinely interesting, sad, and scary. And the way the film gives you main characters who already feel alienated to start, and they feel like outcasts, really makes you relate to them right away. You always need someone like the hero's journey to have stuff explained to them. They're in a foreign location. They have things being told to them, so you start to understand it. You empathize with them very well. The setting of the film, which is basically in the middle of nowhere, it's an older couple who decides to take in some orphans, and they're doing it because they lost their little girl a long time ago, and they're trying to like make good in the world by letting these ladies or letting these girls stay there. Some of them are older, like teenage, which gives you this nice cast of characters because the ones that you're relating to are the kids. And then there's like the older teenagers who are kind of bitchy, but at the same time, when shit starts to pop off and like escalate.
They have a responsibility to take care of the younger kids.
And they are honest and open about the fact that they're experiencing it. So you kind of empathize with them a little bit more, and it has a really solid cast. And most importantly, it's not just a doll trying to kill people like in Child's Play. This is a demon. This is very clearly exploring the origins of how this demon was able to basically dupe this couple based off of their grief and take hold in this doll. And it's very creepy. It's very sad because of that. And it really makes you think about what could it masquerade as to sort of trick anyone, you know?
Right.
To prey on your weakness. And then the fact that once the activity is starting to peak in the film, it spills over into the daylight. I absolutely fucking love. I have cold chills just saying it because it's like, the daytime is supposed to be when you're safe, you know? That's where the idea of the witching hour comes from. We had someone before who was always saying, like, the witching hour is midnight. Everyone that I know thinks the witching hour is 3 a.m. based off the fact that it's the inverse of the holy hour, which is 3 p.m., which is when Jesus was supposed to have been crucified and died. That's supposed to be like the time that holiness is most powerful, essentially, and 3 a.m. being the inverse is when the veil is weakest and the dark things can do whatever they want, or as much as they could.
I know a lot of things from the Conjuring movie are like Ed Warren. He's like, okay, well, they do everything in threes because it's the mocking the Holy Trinity of like Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And that's why it's 3 o'clock, and that's why it's 3 knocks, and that's why it's 3 everything. So there's that part too.
I also really like that Ed and Lorraine Warren are not fucking in this one.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you're actually watching something where you're thinking, what part of this is true and what part of this is bullshit. You know that this is just 100% made up, and you're just kind of okay with it. But when it spills over into daylight, that scene and the fact that they really decided to lean into the imagery of the nun from The Conjuring 2,
yep,
I was just like, this really fucking works. I really enjoyed it. It's my personal favorite in the Conjuring franchise. I do believe that the first Conjuring movie is the best movie. But I think this one's my favorite. Okay. I would watch The Conjuring over and over and over. I think it's a great movie. Freaked me the fuck out. Like, I think that's great.
Because that's going to be in my thing.
I think it's great. Annabelle Creation, though, is my number 4. You can move to your number 3, which is apparently Annabelle Creation.
Yes, so my number 3, how I ranked it, a little bit above yours. This one, we've talked about, obviously, numerous times in this show, on our podcast. I feel like we've brought up Annabelle Creation so many times. Maybe even just in passing, but this is another movie, like Adam was saying, in the Conjuring Universe. I am a sucker for demons, man. I am a sucker for this fucking stupid possession shit. But don't try to slide into my DMs, demons, because I don't want that shit. Normally, if it's a celebrity, I'm like, hit me up, but no, demons, stay out of my
demons,
fucking
you
shit.
can fuck right off.
But the concept of demons and possessions really are what scare me in these movies. And I was telling Adam earlier, I think, I was telling him that like Evil Dead type possession, that did not scare me. Evil Dead is a fun movie to watch.
It's so over the top too.
It's over the top.
It's not almost. It is funny. It's fucking funny.
And it is not, it doesn't scare me, but this movie scared me. The whole Annabelle and Bathsheba thing definitely freaks me the fuck out. And this movie starts out with a couple, like Adam was saying, loses their daughter. They invite these orphans to stay. And one of these girls opens this room that is not supposed to be open.
The room has scripture.
Yeah.
As wallpaper.
Yes. The entire closet is covered in pages of the Bible.
If there's ever been a fucking room that was built to keep something in, it is very clearly this room.
Right. And so this room's covered in Bible pages. This chick opens this room, and of course, hijinks ensue. And horrifying paranormal activity. This movie, of course, involves Annabelle, and it's just, this kid releases this monster. So this whole movie, horrible things are happening, but there's a scene in which a nun, the nun that comes with these orphans, looks at a picture. And in this picture, it's a picture of her with a bunch of other nuns, and they're supposed to be on this, trip where she meets all these nuns and somewhere else. And in the corner of this photo, I don't know if you remember this.
I do.
But in the corner of this photo, she like turns it just a little bit.
And she mentions this other nun.
This other nun. And it is the evil fucking nun from the previous Conjuring
And then, of
movies.
course, the movie The Nun completely throws all of this away and doesn't rely on it.
Right, but the way they do it freaked me out because she just turns the photo and you see her.
It's like a holographic baseball card that has a demon in the background.
Yeah, it is absolutely horrifying. But like, when the first time I watched that movie, I was so scared. So if you haven't seen that movie yet and you plan to see it, your asshole should be puckered when the scene pops up. So hopefully it helps you not be as scared as I was when I saw it, because I did not expect that to happen. This movie freaked me out. It's like all this evil stuff started happening in broad daylight. The sun is supposed to keep you safe.
Yes.
But it doesn't. So there's nothing that can protect you in this. It is absolutely horrifying. On a scale of 1 to scary, this one is butt clenching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not sure where that lies on the scale, but good to know. So before we move into our next story, we are going to take a really quick commercial break. And we're back. So now I'm going to go ahead and go into my franchise choice, because I said we were going to do this like near 3, right in the middle. So my franchise choice for you is you have to get rid of one. This isn't fuck, marry, kill. This is fuck, kill. That's all you get to do, okay? You have the Conjuring Universe or the Kingdom.
Conjuring,
The Kingdom is everything ever made by Stephen King.
Oh, the Kingdom. I thought you meant Kingdom.
No.
Like,
I don't
on
know what
Netflix.
the fuck. I don't know what the fuck
The zombie
Kingdom is
show
on Netflix.
on Kingdom.
No.
I mean, the
I
zombie
don't think it's
show
what it's
on
called,
Netflix.
but that's definitely not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Stephen King's everything that's ever been made. This includes Carrie. This
Conjuring.
includes what you're gonna go with. You're gonna go with the Conjuring still. The Stand is gone.
Yep.
It is gone. Both iterations of it. Wow. All right.
I love the
Bold
Conjuring
choice.
movies. Okay, I freaking
You know,
love
and I
them.
have to do it. Shawshank Redemption's gone too, because Shawshank Prison is part of a bunch of different
I don't
stuff.
give a shit about Shawshank.
Castle Rock is gone.
I don't give
All
a shit.
of it. God damn. Conjuring Universe has a lot of shitty movies. So, all right.
Like, I don't know. Maybe because I'm younger, so I
don't know as many.
Yeah. Like, I don't really give a fuck.
Cujo.
No, I don't give a shit.
Pet Cemetery.
Never seen it. Okay, never seen
Cemetery's
Cujo.
pretty fucking good.
Barely seen The Shining.
Shining's. Here's the thing. I have issues with The Shining because it is very different from the book. A lot of people really like the movie. Stephen King fucking hated that movie. So it's The Shining's a little bit weird. I really like Dr. Sleep. I thought that was a great follow-up that happens years later. That again would be gone. There's a lot of movies in the Kingdom that you're getting rid of.
I could do without it.
I think a lot of people would be willing to sacrifice the
it.
Kingdom to get rid of the Dark Tower movie that they made. But all right, I'm going to move into my number 3, and then you can hit me with your franchise choice. My number 3 is one that I have also talked about a lot on this show. And for a long time, it was my number 1. My number 3 is Event Horizon.
Oh, that was the one you freaking made me watch.
I fucking love this movie. It is creepy. It puts me on edge every time I watch it. It is one of my favorite mixtures of genres because I definitely believe that if you're making a sauce or a stew and you're tossing in ingredients and you toss in horror and you're like, let me mix in a little bit of sci-fi, it goes together like lamb and tuna fish. Because one of the things I was taught, I had a class in college, and my professor was this brilliant guy. I think his name was Jesse Thorne. And one of the things he really enjoys teaching this class was sci-fi and fantasy. So you could sit down and just talk about everything sci-fi and everything fantasy and push them apart and see which things lied closer and closer together. And he talked about every franchise you could ever think of. We put it on this scale, and we would do it a bunch of different times. Then we'd do a bunch of different writings. And he made us read horror. And when we read horror, we really started to realize it blends super well with science fiction because like really deep science fiction gives you an unnerving feeling because it makes it feel like something that's real with technology that makes you feel uncomfortable. And he always used to say the best sci-fi makes you think about something in your daily life that you look at, and then it gives you the feeling that in the future it can look back.
What the what?
And that always creeped me out. Like, if you're looking at your computer, the idea that your computer can look back at you. Or if you're looking at your toaster or your refrigerator or whatever the fuck it could be, all of a sudden there's some sentience that could be put onto it through some sort of science that is plausible that makes you feel uncomfortable.
Kind of like Lazarus?
I don't think it's called Lazarus. I think we're thinking about the same movie, but it's called like the Lazarus Effect.
Oh, okay. Maybe you're right. Yeah, Lazarus Effect.
Yeah.
Is it Lazarus Effect?
I'm pretty sure with Olivia Wilde, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of, yeah. But there's a lot of other things within sci-fi too, like when you read Isaac Asimov and they give you the 3 rules of robots. You know, they can't harm a human.
Right.
All the different things that they can't do, like stuff like that. Philip K. Dick, a lot of the stuff that they wrote really functions around the idea of like make someone uncomfortable with technology they believe is plausible. And when you take that idea and you stuff fucking horror into it like a turkey, it is fucking scary. And Event Horizon does that so well. In Event Horizon, they take the idea of a haunted house movie. So we're all familiar with haunted house movies where the house is basically the bad guy and they throw it into space. They aren't the first to do it. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But the way in which they treat the ship itself like a character, it is sincerely the antagonist of the movie, despite the fact that there's another antagonist within the movie. And it's so friggin' genius how they do it. They basically take the trauma that everyone's gone through and the ship forces them to start seeing it again, to just start breaking them down because it's what the ship does. Movies like The Haunting, which is funny because The Haunting has all the characters from Haunting at Hill House, you know?
Yes.
And that movie is really much about the house and then that specific ghost who's evil. Right. It makes you feel like you're trapped in the haunted house. And then a movie like House on Haunted Hill, which I don't know if anyone out there remembers House on Haunted Hill, came out in 1999. It's what I always confuse the name of with Haunting of Hill House. And that one's all about the house being haunted again. Came out around the same time as 13 Ghosts. So it kind of got lost because 13 Ghosts
is so
kicks
good.
Total fucking ass. It's not on my list. I still really like it. It could have been an honorable mention. But those 2 movies really have the feeling of a haunted house. But Event Horizon basically takes the idea of space exploration and the unnerving sense of unknown environments and incorporates them into some really freaky shit. And the premises basically is that you are stuck in space. There's nothing you can fucking do to get out. And you are finding a ship that the entire point of the ship was to fold space so that you could create a wormhole so that the 2 spots you want to travel through become the same spot. So when you move through it, all of a sudden you're on the opposite side of the universe or wherever you're trying to go.
Yeah. And
they create the technology, and as soon as the ship passes through, it disappears. And then it just randomly comes back years later. And it's really weird because you'd be like, what the fuck happened? And it comes back at the edge of our solar system, so they have to send a crew out to go get it. And what really is happening here is that the ship went to hell. And then it came back.
With demons.
And it just doesn't have demons in it. The ship itself is alive, and the ship itself now is evil.
Oh, gotcha.
And it's so fucking creepy because everywhere they go, they're stuck in this ship. So you add in some really freaky horror shit that's almost Hellraiser level weird, and you get a horror movie that really stands the test of time. Lawrence Fishburne is great in it. Sam Neill is in it. If you don't know who Sam Neill is,
nope. He's
the doctor from Jurassic Park. He's the main character. He's Dr. Grant, and he is fucking crazy. And I absolutely love that movie. That is my number 3. All right. We're getting to the last 2. I'm excited to see what your runner-up to your favorite movie is. What's your number 2?
Well, I'm going to ask you first.
Okay.
Would you choose the Scream movies or the I Know What You Did Last Summer movies?
I would choose Scream.
Because?
They're just better movies. To be honest with you.
You don't like Jennifer Love Hewitt walking around with her nips?
The only thing that would make me choose those is Jennifer Love Hewitt, who is also a childhood crush of mine.
Is she?
Oh my God. Okay, House Arrest. That movie where they kidnap their parents, they stuff them into a basement, and they force them all to work through their trauma.
Okay.
Fucking love that movie. It's not that good. She's great in it. She's fucking gorgeous. Again, she was around the same age as me.
Okay.
Yeah. We're just going through my childhood crushes now.
Did you watch like Ghost Whisper or whatever her show was?
No, okay, I didn't even know it existed until someone told me she had a show called Ghost Whisper.
Okay.
Years later. That was like when I was in college and I didn't even have a TV or any TV
she's
service.
in 911 now, or at least until 3 episodes ago.
Spoilers, dickhead.
I would watch... Oh, man.
It's Scream for me because I really like Scream 1. Scream 2... is like they amp it up again.
I Know What You Did Last Summer had Sarah Michelle Gellar.
That's true. And Freddie Prinze Jr.
So
I think that might be where they met.
I think that's where they met. But I love her. You know, like if I had a crush, it would be Sarah Michelle Gellar. because I freaking love Buffy. So I don't know.
I refused to watch Buffy my entire childhood because she wasn't Christy Swanson,
Oh my
who I
Lord.
absolutely love from the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. We all know this.
So Scream, right? You have this guy in a mask murdering people. I Know What You Did Last Summer is more of a mystery because they have no idea where this person is, what they look like.
I mean, that's exactly what's happening in Scream also.
But he's wearing a fucking Scream mask.
He's wearing a ghost face mask. He's called the Ghost Face Killer, excuse me. And on top of that, they still don't know who he is. The whole point of that movie and the ending that has the twist is who's the killer. And they keep giving you throughout Scream 1 ideas that this person could be the killer, or this person could be the killer, or this person could be the killer. And it just keeps going on.
They don't even do that.
And on.
I Know What You Did Last Summer. They just never know.
You just proved my point. Kill, I Know What You Did Last Summer's. Those ones can go.
No.
Plus, I'm actually really excited to see the new Scream that's coming out that has Courtney Cox,
I am excited
Neve
about
Campbell,
that
and
one.
David Arquette. So that's why I would keep the Scream franchise.
But Buffy.
I mean, the female leads really almost make me keep I Know What You Did Last Summer, but nah, dog. No. Sorry.
Okay,
all right, move on
fine.
to your number 2.
All right, so my number 2 is The Possession. So The Possession is a bit of an older movie. I say older, it's not that old. It was released in 2012. That's not that old.
It's Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah, it starred Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the main character. He plays divorced dad trying to make this newly split family work. This is the one about the Dybbuk box,
Yep.
which is something that Adam covered in a previous episode 24, I think. And I'm sure we're all familiar with the Dybbuk box from Ghost Adventures because Zach Baggins had it at one point as a feature in his museum or something, and he locked someone down in the basement with it.
He locked the guy who told the story about it with the box.
So dumb. But that's besides the point. This movie was something that I found to be different from the usual horror movies. This one didn't revolve around the Catholic Church and some typical demons and possessions and exorcisms, that type of thing. This one involved the Jewish faith, which I freaking loved. It's not something you see often in film.
I really enjoyed that during this movie when he realizes I need to go talk to people of the Jewish faith. They behave very differently than the stereotypical Catholic priest or in the Catholic Church when you're like, oh, I need an exorcism.
Right.
They're just like, oh, shit. Yeah, you're dealing with some shit, aren't you?
Not only is that what kind of pulls me to this movie, but this movie kind of triggered me in a little ways. Because, okay, this girl, she gets her dad to buy her this creepy-ass box, right? At an estate sale or a garage sale or something. Let me start the movie with someone dies at the beginning of the movie with this box in the room. She's staring at this box. This person dies. It's within the first 5-10 minutes. So not necessarily spoilers. Someone does die. It's the shit that kind of pulls you into the movie and makes you think like, what the hell is going on here, right? So you gotta watch what after what happens to this woman. So horrifyingly great way to start the movie. This movie triggers me because his daughter, again, divorced dad, wants to spoil his daughter, buys her this awful haunted as hell looking box. She takes it home, haunting, weird stuff ensues. Possession takes place. She goes fucking psycho. And I say psycho in that she does all these crazy things that she's trying to get her taken away from her dad, right? Because her dad wants to take the box away from her. So she's just trying to get her dad in trouble. At one point, she is like slapped by an invisible entity. Like she does it to herself. And she is possessed as fuck. Spoilers. But
it's called The Possession. You probably could have expected that.
She cries, and then she cries out like, Dad, why would you hit me? Like, she's doing this to herself, trying to get her dad in trouble. She's doing this in front of other people to get her taken away from her dad. So her mom's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
This is really traumatic for anyone who is a child of divorce, too.
And super, and that's why this movie is just like, it's a mix of horror, but it's so real.
And this is another really good example of a movie that figures out a way to make their character feel isolated and alone.
Yes.
Which is something that when I watch a movie, I don't always want to see, which is why I don't always watch horror movies, but good horror movies make you feel like the character is on their own.
Right.
Like they are slowly having things pulled away from them, and it does it really well.
I don't know if that like triggers you guys or what, but I kind of fell for this father figure, right? I feel so bad for him.
Jeffrey
I feel
Dean
for him.
Morgan, of course you do.
You kind of
Poor
gotta fall
divorce
for
daddy.
hot daddy. But yeah, I mean, it's just a good movie. It's well done. There's a few things that I would obviously change about it, like the end where they're trying to put this thing back. Whatever. It's weird.
I actually like the ending.
You like the ending?
Because it's fucking creepy.
It is very creepy, but at the same time, I'm like, it's too much.
My perfect horror ending is the good guys actually live.
Yes.
But not like, but they're all going to die anyways. It's like a but. They didn't vanquish the evil.
It's
they
just contained.
Exactly. They contained it. They got rid of it in some way. They used the evil containment wave from Master Roshi and put it into a jar.
God damn it.
Put the stopper on it. But the stopper shakes at the end of the movie.
Overall, really great movie. Refreshingly different. But still, absolutely horrifying.
I enjoyed it a lot.
It's a very good movie. There's so many parts of that movie that are really fucking scary.
When I made my list of my 5 top favorites, I put 11 horror films down first, and Possession was there. And I almost had it on my list, but I was like, you know what? It's just not one that I'm feeling right now. So that was your number 2.
That is my number 2.
My number 2, I've talked about it before. I think most folks expect my number 2 to be my number 1, is Nightmare on Elm Street. The original, the first Nightmare on Elm Street, because holy forking shirt balls. This movie scared me so much as a kid.
Did it really?
As far as my favorites go, this is my number 2, despite the fact that it is by far the scariest movie on my list for me personally. Nightmare on Elm Street fucked me up hard. I had recurring nightmares about Freddy Krueger trying to kill me for years as a child. And to this day, when I watch Nightmare on Elm Street, it still freaks me out. I know Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. I know Robert Englund's super fucking chill. I'm still fucking terrified of Freddy Krueger. He's a completely different entity. He is absolutely not Robert Englund.
The movies are scary.
The same way I can hear Tim Curry's voice coming through in It and be okay with it, that does not happen with Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. He is my boogeyman from my childhood. He always will be. If I have a nightmare where I am in my parents' home from my childhood and I know I need to go to the basement and the light switches aren't turning on, I'm not worried about it popping out. I'm not worried about it being filled with spiders. I fucking know there is a boiler room in that basement and this bastard is waiting for me down there because he is my fucking boogeyman. He is the evil thing at the end of every long dark hallway in my dreams. And the entire idea of making a villain that lives within dreams is just so brilliant because it is, at its very core, inescapable. You watch horror movies like Poltergeist, which was also on my list, and you're like, just move. Like, just leave the fucking house. The house is haunted. Just leave. Like, stay with a relative. Fuck that place. Like, I get it. Conjuring family. You spent a lot of money to move in there. Go stay in a fucking hotel. Go stay with your fucking family. Like, just get out of the house. You can't do that with Freddy Krueger because you literally cannot avoid sleeping. If you try, the harder you try not to sleep on a day-to-day basis, the more tired you get, the more sleep drags you down.
Yeah.
And the fact that he enjoyed playing with his victims so much that he eventually becomes the focal point of these films shows how inescapable he really is. He's gonna kill you. If he just decided to kill you and not fuck with you first, you would be dead so much faster, the movie would be 20 minutes long, and he would win every single time. The later movies, he's more like a pop culture figure who's looking for laughs and playing to an audience of one within the universe, but really it's playing it up like he's breaking the fourth wall as he looks for more funny and creative ways to kill these teenagers and children. And it's crazy to me that people started to root for him because the first Nightmare movie, and the second one for that matter, he is so vicious. The scene where he drags the girl around the bedroom in the beginning to make it just the most horrific murder scene you could ever imagine. Because he knows her boyfriend is going to be arrested for it, despite the fact that he's physically not capable of doing what happened to this girl. people need a rational way to process something horrible like that, and they need someone to blame, so they blame him. That way, he can kill him too, but make it look like a suicide. But first, he makes sure all his friends are watching in the dream so they can be fucking traumatized. And he also knows that they can't tell anyone. This fucking dude is sadistic in every way, shape, and form. He deliberately torments his victims. And on top of all that, when he was real, was a fucking child murderer.
Yep.
He picked on kids. Wasn't teenagers, it was literally children. The origin story of Freddy Krueger is that he was a child murderer who got arrested. The police fucked up the investigation. He got set free because they didn't collect evidence correctly. And the parents of the neighborhood said, fuck this. They went to his place, they boarded it up with him inside, and they burnt it to the ground and listened to him scream while he died to make sure he was dead. And in that moment, demons came from hell. And we're like, we really like your work. We're going to let you be a dream demon. Does that sound good? And he's like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And people still decided to root for this dude, despite how horrible and terrifying he was, just because he was charismatic and he sincerely seemed inescapable. It made him less scary to look at him as somehow empathetic, because you're giving him all these like stereotypical teenage characters that people just wanted to see die in some way because it was funny. The first movie and the second movie were just fucking terrifying. It still fucks me up to this day. My number 2, Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy Krueger.
It is genuinely scary. There's that scene with Johnny Depp where he
gets sucked into the bed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's Johnny
and
Depp's
blood
first,
just goes everywhere.
Johnny Depp's first movie, by the way.
That movie is genuinely scary. Yeah. The idea that you cannot go to sleep because you will die.
Like, there's nothing you can do to avoid sleep. Even if you do everything you can to inject yourself and stay up for as long as you possibly can, eventually you will micronap, and as soon as you micronap, he's just going to be right there to stab you in the dick.
What the what?
It's just that terrifying. All right, that was my number 2, which means we are on to our personal top number 1 horror movie.
All right, my number 1 should be totally obvious to you at least, is The Conjuring, the OG Conjuring movie. No offense to all the other Conjuring movies in the lineup. Despite the inaccuracies of the activities that occurred within the Perron household during the period of possession there, or lack thereof, depending on which you want to believe, I think it's a really good horror movie overall. If you didn't think about the fact that it's like real, that it actually happened. If you just think about it as a horror movie, just random horror movie about this family, it's very, very fucking good.
This movie has a theme running through it, very similar to the Fast and Furious franchise, and that is family.
Get the fuck, god damn it. Adam's done a topic on the Conjuring film, this particular one about the Perron family. It's under episode 114. This movie was the one that introduced us all to the film depictions of Ed and Lorraine Warren.
And man, did they cast Ed different than he looked in real life. Lorraine looks pretty similar.
Very similar.
She was a hottie boom baladi.
Yeah, but the actor that plays Ed Warren, man, oof, just like he is a hottie boom baladi.
Priest daddy.
He's not a priest though.
But he performs the exorcism. I'm just saying.
He's exorcist daddy. But since watching this movie, I fell in love with the couple, I love them.
They have very good on-screen chemistry. You really feel like they not just care about each other, they care about this family they're coming to take care of and help in different ways. And they're not looking to make a buck in the movie. We could talk all day about whether or not Ed and Lorraine Warren were different kind of people in real life, but you're absolutely right.
The Devil Made Me Do It, the newest film in the series, is obviously I feel like, just a love story to the two of them, right? It's just about their relationship. The Conjuring 2 was also like a love story between the two of them. But the first movie is still a genuinely scary horror film, at least to me, and it's something that I put on over and over.
It has played at least
again.
20 times in our home.
And I've watched it on airplanes. That's the movie that I watch when we fly. Even if it's my intention to just have it on in the background, I still end up focusing on it because I love it so much. And there are so many interesting details. Because it is based on a true story, there's so much lore to it that isn't necessarily covered in the movie. Bathsheba is the main villain in the first Conjuring movie, but there's so much more to her lore throughout the entirety of the series, I believe. I think even as an intro to horror movies in general, for those that don't really watch horror movies, it's great. People that just want to dip their toes into horror. It's a good mix of cheesy horror scares and legitimately scary scenes.
And practical effects
it's
done
all
super
effects,
well.
Right?
Not all. Like the demon vomit isn't practical.
No. It could be, maybe.
It's not.
It really isn't. But there's certain things like I can't say because there's so many good scenes in it. But I
mean, I gave one.
The hand clap. The hand clap is probably
totally practical. It was just someone there.
Somebody with their hands reached out, clapped.
You do the proper scene, you film it the right way. There shouldn't be someone there in the movie. All of a sudden, hands come out of fucking nowhere and go clap, clap right next to her ear. That shit is terrifying.
I remember when I watched that for the first time, I totally fucking screamed. Even though there's a point where she's playing this game, this clapping hide and seek game with her kids, and she goes into this room. There is a wardrobe, and the wardrobe opens on its own. She can't see.
Comes out. Aslan comes out. So fucking weird.
She has a blindfold on. Hands come out of the clothes of the wardrobe. Yes. And it's absolutely fucking horrifying.
I won't give away this scene, but this scene is the one that always fucking gets me. Is there's someone standing outside. There's a bunch of clothes on a clothesline. And all of a sudden it gets really dark outside because the storm's rolling in and one of the sheets blows off. Mm-hmm. That scene, when you watch it, if you've never seen it before, is fucking creepy. And it is practical effects just done super, super well.
The movie is just so stinking good. And I know there's a lot of movies that are out these days that rely solely on sounds like the sharp screeching
which
horror
is what a
sound.
lot of the new Paranormal Activities do, and the older ones did as well.
And it's not to say that those sounds make they're just gimmicks that make a horror movie shitty, because it does work. I mean, the Conjuring movie has those themselves, but like practical effects are so important, and The Conjuring is just so freaking good. Overall, 10 out of 10 would recommend. It is definitely my favorite as of right now, November 2021. That's my favorite.
Right on. All right, well, let me wrap this thing up then. I've gone through my top 5 through to getting to my number 1. I actually don't talk about this movie that frequently. However, I do think it is one of my favorite films, not just one of my favorite horror films. My number 1 favorite horror movie as of November 9th, 2021 is Alien. The original first Alien. If you've never seen the original Alien, stop what you're doing right now. Pause this podcast and go watch fucking Alien. Because it is, in my humble opinion, an absolute masterpiece.
That's the movies with Sigourney Weaver, right?
Absolutely. It is so good. The entire plot of the film is so filled with intrigue and tension from start to finish. These are basically blue-collar workers in space. Space has been explored. It is no longer that scary. It is routine to work from planet to planet, mining whoever the fucking knows what. And they get woken up early. They're told, go check out this planet. There's an SOS coming from there. They go down. They find eggs. Something goes wrong. Some of them try to come back to the ship because 3 of them went out. One of them's hurt. Someone in the ship says, don't let them in. We need to keep them quarantined. That'll prevent everything from going wrong. No one listens to her. On top of all this shit happening, you obviously know there's ulterior motives coming from this evil corporation that's combined with a possible saboteur among. And then in one of the best, most iconic scenes in film history, in my humble opinion, the script, all it said was the creature emerges. And none of the actors knew it was going to happen. They were all taken off the set except the actor that had the creature emerge from them. They brought all the actors back on. The chest burst happens. If you've never seen this before, you got to watch it.
It is horrific.
You were introduced for the first time in cinema history to the xenomorph. One of the actors was so fucking freaked out because they didn't know that was going to happen. They passed out. In real life, they had to cut filming and bring her back and let her know everything's okay because it was that freaky for them to film the fucking thing.
Isn't it like the reactions in the movie
they're genuine?
Yeah.
Because they're like, what the fuck is happening? This is one of Ridley Scott's first movies. And this dude had the balls to go in there and say, hey, here's my script. And guess what? The protagonist is going to be kind of a mystery because there's going to be so many strong characters. You're not sure which one is going to be the one you're following, but it's going to be the smart, strong female lead, whether you fucking like it or not, which when this movie came out was not being done. It is so goddamn ballsy that he came out and did that. And Ripley is so iconic as a character.
Yeah.
My first dog, my first pet was named Ripley in honor of this character because my mom said she's really strong-willed. She's really awesome. We're naming her after my favorite cinema character that has the same features, which is Ripley from the franchise of Aliens. It's just not something you would ever have expected to happen. And as this creature hides more and more, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it starts picking off the crew one by one, making them feel more isolated. And again,
that first one has a cat, right?
There's a cat in there.
Okay.
Yeah, science fiction meets horror, not just haunted house. It's the isolation of you're trapped on this fucking ship with a monster you can't get away from. And each time you try and find it, it's gotten bigger and more formidable to the point where you're like, now we just have to escape it. And it is terrifying.
I mean, there's a scene in it where you look up at the ceiling and there's a bunch of stuff hanging from the ceiling, and you don't see anything there.
But it's there.
But it's there.
And that's the other thing, is that this monster, the xenomorph from Alien, is one of the most iconic cinema monsters in cinema history. It's completely identifiable to people who haven't even seen it. They're like, oh yeah, it's the alien. It's just as identifiable as the Predator. People completely know what this thing is, and it's fucking scary. Its design is intimidating and scary. And on top of that, it generated a sequel, which is not on my list, because it moves from the horror genre to the action genre. In my opinion, it is the greatest sequel to ever shift genres and get a new director. Because Ridley Scott said, I'm not going to make a sequel to it. I really liked how Alien went. If you guys want to make a sequel to it, go ahead. They said, cool. We're going to make it an action flick with a bunch of the monsters, which sounds like a bad idea. And then they went and got James Cameron to film it, and it fucking rocks your socks off. It's so goddamn good. But this first one is not like that one at all, because it is one creature. You are isolated, you are hunting it, then you are running from it, and it is so good. Chef's kiss.
I feel like I've never seen
it. It is terrifying. You've never seen the first one? I made you watch it. The second one, if you've never seen, we are going to watch that. I have watched that movie at least 100 times.
The cat.
I fucking love it.
Part.
The cat, there's a cat that's a pet, and it's also trying to survive. And the iconic, like, super dark corridors with the flashing lights. And they're like 3 minutes till self-destruct. Like, that shit is so stressful. It is just such a great movie. The first and the second one were amazing. For me, that's really where the franchise ends, because the third one was not good, and the fourth one we do not speak of. So
is Prometheus like one of them?
Prometheus is part of the universe. It explores the origins before any of that shit happened. Ridley Scott was involved. He said it's not technically a prequel, which it absolutely is, and it gets really weird. Then there's Alien Covenant. It's really hard to keep track of them. I really wish they would stop trying to, like, incorporate them all together. And if they're going to make one, just reboot it. Keep the creature the fucking same. Like, you can absolutely pull that off. If you've never played the game Alien Covenant, it is not Alien Covenant. It might be Alien Covenant. Alien Isolation. It was a horror game that was released that is, you're actually Ripley's daughter. And she has to deal with it.
You're
and that
Ripley's
game is
that
fantastic. That game won a BAFTA award, for Christ's sake, for sound design, because that game is so good, because it plays on the exact same ideas that the original Alien movie did. And I think that Alien is an absolute masterpiece. If you have not seen it and you've only seen Aliens, it is very different. Go check it out. I didn't even tell you about the hidden bad guy in the movie, which is almost creepier than the alien itself. But that is my number one favorite horror movie as of November 9th, 2021. When tomorrow hits, I'll probably completely adjust my list.
Nah.
I would love to hear what some of your top fives are. So go ahead and let us know. You can hit us up on our social medias. Facebook is facebook.com/Scaryish Podcast. Twitter is @ScarishPod. Instagram is @Scaryish Podcast. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know which movies that you're like, yes, I love that movie too.
Yeah.
And again, this is favorites. We're not saying this is objectively the best movie of all time or any of that stuff.
These are what we enjoy watching.
These were our favorites. Let us know yours. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear what you have to say. And those are the ways you can get a hold of us. If you would like to send us a scary story to read on the Storytime episodes or a fictional horror story to read on the Pasta Time episodes, you can reach out to us by emailing storytime@scarish.com or hitting us up on our website, scarish.com, by clicking contact us. Fill out that form. It comes directly to us. Or you can do any of the social medias that I just mentioned. Robin, for folks who would like to donate to us, how can they do so?
You can go to patreon.com/Scaryish Podcast, and those are monthly donations. Tiers start at $1. At $1, you get ad-free. If you're not into the monthly subscription type thing, you can also go to coffee, ko-fi.com/Scaryish Podcast. All your donations go to helping us upgrade our studio setup and kind of keep us going. And
thank you so much for listening to episode 204 of the Scaryish Podcast. We are 4 away from our 4-year anniversary episode.
Holy crap.
Yep, pretty close. But either way, thank you so much for listening. And I think that's just about everything. So Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.